Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 72 today for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one at Monaco. That was a very, very hectic Monaco GP, but we come through now to Azerbaijan, and before we head to the race weekend, or even any kind of admin ahead of the race today, we have big news in the world of Formula 1 in this career mode. Save the FIA have been investigating Ferrari this season, and there is a massive bit of news going ahead for the rest of the season.
Questions were asked about their power unit, about their engine, because they seem to have a conspicuous advantage over the rest of the field. In the last hours, a statement from the FIA saying they had completed their investigation into Ferrari's power unit and that a confidential agreement had been made between the governing body and Ferrari on the matter, effectively putting it to an end.
I'm not 100% sure it is going to be put to an end, but this is where we stand now. Going forward for the rest of Season 4, there has been a private settlement with Ferrari and the FIA, and there potentially could be a downturn in performance from the Ferrari team following that settlement. We don't know exactly what Ferrari's been doing with their engine exactly, but going forward, it could be a very interesting time as the Scuderia could be slipping down the order. Away though from other teams, focusing on ourselves, we've only got a few episodes now till we get to the point of the season where we need to try and re-sign Pierre Gasly. 4 races, I believe. I think it will be done around the British Grand Prix, which is going to coincide quite nicely with the halfway point of the season as well, because of course the team's come a long way from the initial point of this season where we were bankrupt. We had a claim level 1. We have now got a claim level 11. So potentially in a few episodes time, our livery could be looking a little bit more full in terms of having some smaller sponsors on the car. It'll be a long way off to get a title sponsor. I don't think a main title sponsor for the side pods and the halo will be coming all the way until Season 5, but smaller sponsors may be attracted back onto the car, and around the halfway mark, the British Grand Prix may be a good time to try and launch a snazzy new kind of secondary livery to kind of mark the kind of upturn of the team, obviously, because I'll give you a little insight. The kind of stealth black camo we got right now with the neon green and just fully blacked out car, that wasn't actually the initial design of Season 4's livery, but with the situation we're dealt with, having all our sponsors leave us due to the bad PR of being bankrupt, it actually looked better if the car was in all black. A bit of a testing kind of a livery that just continued on into the actual season, because a kind of blank white car kind of looks a bit worse than a kind of blank black car historically, in my opinion. So it wasn't actually the initial design we were going to go for this season. So into the British Grand Prix, we may potentially be seeing a small tweak and a little bit more white returning to the car, but all will be revealed later on in the season. But now let's get back to the actual admin then between races from Monaco to Azerbaijan. We're going to go ahead and try and access some sponsor events, second driver PR, and also attending the F1 esports event, all of which will boost not only the team's acclaim, but also my personal driver's acclaim, which obviously feeds into the team, and we're trying to bump that up as high as we can. But it's going to be, I don't know, I reckon we won't even get to the, it'll be like into Season 5 before we even get back to a claim level, over 20 to unlock that final sponsor slot in-game for that money we can potentially get for bonus goals in the races. So it's going to be a long, long time, but we're going to try our best to try and get up as high as we can. Hopefully with the kind of boosted nature of myself and Gasly, we can do it. But going into the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, you can see just there, we had the final drag reduction update we had pending that we purchased last episode in the middle of the race weekend. It was to make sure we could get it for Azerbaijan. So 2 drag reduction updates in the last 2 episodes mean that hopefully we're going to be on the front foot for Baku. Obviously a track where if we can just try and manage the car on the corners, if we run lower wings, we could actually be quite competitive relative to our competitors around us, Racing Point, Mercedes, and the rest of the midfield fight. And obviously now we know that Ferrari have got some sort of settlement, some sort of nerf to their car. So I think the entire grid's going to be licking their lips at seeing where Ferrari are now and what that means now for the championship fight going forward for not only this race, but the rest of the season, basically, because it's not going to get any better overnight now for Ferrari, depending on how bad they are, basically. But we won't know until we go to track. So let's get into qualifying then for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. You just saw there earlier, though, I showed you guys a shot just to confirm that we've still got the rest of the departments, engine, chassis, durability closed right now, because I want to save that 300k per week as much as I can, because I'm still not 100% sure if we'll be able to afford Gasly by the time we get to that contract period. So I'm just trying to maximize the cash flow of the team and make sure we can actually get that contract over the line and signed, and then we can try and open up the other departments. But to be fair, as has been very clear, we haven't had to improve the engine or chassis at all, really. We're still one of the best teams on the grid for engine and chassis, which is why this race and the next one at Canada may be very decent for us, because as I said, it's kind of like almost like Italy. If we can get away with running lower wings and just about manage to navigate this car okay in the corners, on the straights we actually could make up time versus our other competitors who are actually slower than us in a straight line, you know, on pure engine power and chassis. Of course, in recent races we've been a little bit slower than other cars because we've had so much drag on the car due to having higher wings. But if we can manage to somehow find a good compromise, which I think we have, I think I'm running 4 wings here, and the car really has not felt that bad as we go on through this first part of qualifying. Especially on this second flyer, we've gained about 4/10 there through one corner on that left-hander we just went through, because on the first run I was way too tentative under braking there, so being a bit more confident with the car. Bit of understeer though kicking in on this left-hander before we get onto the slingshot kind of section on towards that long main pit straight, where I was likening it to a motorway in the race when you try and go racing with multiple cars, you know, in the different lanes, left, right and center. But we open up DRS, we're going to gain about 6.5 here on this second lap. We're P13 across the line, and we're up into P8, and we will make it through into Q2, and we actually finish up Q1 in the top 10. Gasly was a bit slow there, P16, so maybe potentially Gasly's not as comfortable running lower wings and kind of having a circuit here where you do it all on the straights rather than the corners. So maybe that's going to be a pattern at any kind of the races coming up where we're running lower wings and it's all about straight line speed. Maybe we'll have the advantage over Gasly finally when it comes to Saturday, but we're going to have to see how it goes in Q2 first of all. But you can clearly see, look at where Ferrari are. Leclerc P10, Giovinazzi in P12. Obviously, we don't know if that's their true pace. Let's see in Q2 and Q3 if they can turn up their engine or turn up the wick or whatever. But for sure, I think they're already looking a little bit weaker. They're never this low, even on Q1 so far this season. So that engine settlement, whatever it was, we don't know exactly, has slowed them down. And they are not going to be the same dominant force they may... And they're not going to be the same dominant force they have been so far this season, especially in the last 3 races where they've won the last 3, Leclerc, and then 2 wins in a row for Antonio Giovinazzi. We move on then into the second part of qualifying. We've only got 1 set of soft tyres to use in this part of quali because we used 2 obviously in the first part. And I've got 1 fresh set of this and then 1 fresh set of medium tyres, but there's no point even trying to get through on the mediums. We don't have the pace for that, but we might have the pace to get through on softs, maybe, but that wasn't really the best sector 2 there. Went over the curves and really hopped over them, didn't really carry the momentum I needed, so this is maybe not going to be good enough to get us through into the top 10 shootout for the first time this season across the line. And we're in between the Ferraris there, P5, Leclerc P4, Giovinazzi P6. At the end of the session then, there's no point for me to go out because 1, there's apparently some rain on the way, it says on the radar there, but it's not right here. But also, I don't have any fresh set of tyres left. The only fresh set I have is mediums, and that's got a 7/10 delta time here at Baku, so there's no point me going out on those tyres, and there's no point trying it on the kind of worn rubber I used in Q1. So I'm just sitting here waiting to see what the updated times are. Right at the end of this session, we go down to P10 from P9. We're right on the cusp there, but we've still got quicker people in, and there you go, right at the death. I think the likes of Ricciardo and Perez popped in better times finally for them, and they're able to pip us down out of Q3, and we finish up in P14 in the end, which is maybe not as high as I actually thought we could go, and I think I probably had some more time on the table there, so I think we could have got up to maybe P11 or just maybe even made it into the top 10. That's how quick our car is in a straight line, I feel, with the lower wing. You've got to take the positives here, that we've out-qualified Pierre Gasly for the first time now this season, I believe. Not by a huge margin, but still a decent showing for us. And look at that then, confirmation that nerf for Ferrari has come in big time. They're down to P12 with Leclerc. The championship leader, Giovinazzi, is in P15. So this championship and season has just been blown wide open for every other team competing. McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, potentially they want to pull up their socks. AlphaTauri have been pretty damn quick as of late. And you can see, I don't know what's gone on here this race weekend, but Renault look really pacey. And also Lance Stroll on the Racing Points done a Mazda to get up there. So it's a very topsy-turvy top 10, it would seem. It looks like, track to track, when it's more dependent on straight line speed, it's kind of more anyone's game compared to the higher downforce circuit. So very, very interesting going forwards, but especially for this episode straight away that we've got. So we've got the race to come, and it might be a very different look to the race, especially for the top places compared to what we've seen in the last 3 episodes. Let's go to the grids and see what we can do from P14.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully away from the barriers. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's start with the new Alfa Romeo driver. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Kvyat, Daniel Ricciardo, and Matsushita, Ocon, Hamilton, Stroll, and Alexander Albon, Verstappen, Leclerc, Valtteri Bottas, and the owner driver, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Nicholas Latifi, and George Russell, Aitken, De Vries, Magnussen, and Mick Schumacher. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So we're here on the grid then, P14, but if you did watch through that grid sequence, we had a very interesting Q3 session then. It looks like Verstappen technically actually got pole position, but he has a 10-place grid penalty, so it was actually a front row lockout for AlphaTauri. So, they've looked very quick in a straight line before this season, and obviously at a racetrack like this, where there's so many straights, they're really, really taking advantage of that, and they actually are looking like a quicker team right now at this race compared to Red Bull, which is kind of weird because, literally one race ago, Monaco, Red Bull were definitely the quicker Red Bull team around the Principality, but that's just the difference you get track to track, when straight line speed or downforce is the overriding factor. But you got Lando Norris on the front row alongside Perez. Sainz still up there though, but the likes of Kvyat also checkerboarding, Ricciardo and Matsushita. You've got Hamilton actually out-qualifying the 2 Racing Point cars in P8, and then of course around us are the likes of the Ferrari cars now, and also Valtteri Bottas is Mercedes and Gasly 2 places behind me. So we've got a bit of a different company around us. We're not used to, I'm not used to seeing the Ferrari car this season. So, Leclerc thought he got rid of me for this season, but he may just see me going wheel to wheel with him this race. And you know what? I fancy it. If we can do that, if we can go and race Ferrari hard, I'm going to really enjoy that. Because it's now been a fair few races of, basically pain compared to where we were ending off last season, winning the championship against this man. So, if we can try and race him now once again in F1 in this career, that'll be pretty awesome, and obviously make the most of the situation. But strategy-wise then for us, we're going to be starting on the medium tyres. The same can be said for Pierre Gasly, so our team as a whole have chosen the same direction, going from mediums to the hard tyres, but trying to be on the medium tyre basically for the longest we can, because the hard tyres, even though it's an okay race tyre, it's still not obviously ideal around Baku, especially to try and heat up as quick as the other tyres around us. But saying that, the 2 Ferraris have opted to start on the hard, so how the kind of mighty fall, they're having to do a very weird alternative strategy now compared to what they'd usually do maybe around here if they had that same engine pace they had just last episode. So it's going to be all change, and it's going to be a very different looking race, as I said. Let's get into this then. I'm looking very much forward to what we can do here this race, especially because I don't think Saturday showed where the car really is at a circuit like this. So let's go and show it as we go to 5 red lights to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we're on the way, wasting no time here as the lights go out very, very quickly, and we actually get get nearly held up by Leclerc off the line into turn 1, trying to navigate this a little bit delicately there as we entered the apex. So you had Gasly on my inside, Bottas on the outside, but now we find ourselves literally side by side with our old championship rival Leclerc. A bit of damage ahead of us as an end plate comes off there. I think that may be Lewis Hamilton, so the bad luck continues for the Brit. But at the moment, the more pressing matter for us personally is here we are on the outside of Leclerc now, jockeying for position through the left-hander, giving him some space, but then we get a good exit off that next corner into the right, give him the room on the left, bit of a love tap on the left-hand side there, just making sure we can get the elbows out and get that track position, and we're up into P12 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we've just overtaken one of the men that has been dominating races so far this season, and the championship leader is a further 3 places back. And in towards the second lap of this Grand Prix, Sergio Perez is the man that leads from Lando Norris in second. Then you've got Sainz in third, followed by Kvyat, Ricciardo. Then you've got the other Renault Machicita fighting Esteban Ocon very, very hard. The two side by side now through turns 1 and 2. And meanwhile, behind there's Verstappen going around the outside of Alexander Albon. Very nice to see the actual, in real life, 2 Red Bull drivers in 2 different teams now. This career mode save of ours going side by side. Verstappen, though, obviously he had pole position and then he got demoted 10 places, so he's recovering in this Grand Prix and already showing that good pace by overtaking Albon. And meanwhile, behind us, that is our teammate Pierre Gasly overtaking Valtteri Bottas very nicely indeed on the outside, in the same place we overtook Leclerc on the opening lap. And hopefully onto the next lap, Gasly can actually have a look at Leclerc. There he goes, and you can see the Ferrari cars are really struggling now. After that settlement, the engine is just not as quick as it used to be, and Gasly is passed and up into P13. Very, very decent stuff there from Pierre to make 2 nice overtakes, especially on Bottas, to be fair, because Bottas, you know, the Mercedes car has very much been level pegging, I feel, with us in terms of performance, but you can see what I mean, you know, on a track like this where it's all about straight line speed, getting the exit acceleration, it's all about engine power and acceleration with a lightweight chassis rather than the out and out aero. And because both of us are running generally lower wing than we have done this entire season, because we don't need it, we're not actually facing that same drag efficiency issue we've faced in the recent few races, and we're actually looking pretty okay in terms of race pace, at least compared to our direct competitors around us on circuit. Obviously a different story compared to the very top guys fighting for the podiums and the kind of top 5-6 positions. And speaking of one of them, surprisingly, is Dan Kvyat there. He's in the pit lane now, so we're up into P10, so an early stop from the Russian, but the Renaults are looking very quick here. Obviously we actually saw in season 3, towards the end of the season, we saw both Renault and McLaren were 2 teams that were very quick in a straight line, and so it seems like once we've got to a circuit that really, you know, shows that off, once again they are looking pretty good. You know, they're both ahead of Racing Point cars that, you know, Kvyat was battling the Red Bulls. So we'll see how that goes on as we go on through this Grand Prix. But now the other Renault comes in. Machicita is in. Verstappen is also in for an early stop. We're going to go around the outside though of Lance Stroll. We've caught him up in the last few laps of this first stint, and we've got the pace to overtake the Canadian. We try and squeeze him to left, but he sends one back down the inside. We're going to go for the switchback move from right to left. Don't quite get the exit though I wanted there on that left-hander, so instead we have to stick behind him, and actually Stroll got the advantage there with DRS for him, and we're going to try and force our way through and make some space on the right-hand side. Stroll not wanting to give us any room to work with there. So kind of nice actually accurately portraying him from a recent real-life Grand Prix. As we go down the inside though, the next right-hander, bit of rubbing there on the front left tire to his side pod, but we're trying to keep in this fight there because we've got the pace to make this move stick. We just need to find that corner like that where we can just get across him in the racing line, get ahead, and then push away. And now as we move on to lap number 8, Stroll's fallen off. His tyres were going off the cliff there on the soft compound tyre, and we're up into P4 now as a load of the top 10 guys come in, including this man Lando Norris and also the race leader Sergio Perez just up the road. So both those guys, that's how much quicker they are than us, that they've made a first pit stop and they're still ahead of us in this race. So if you've been doubting how much of a challenge and how far we are away from being back at the front of this F1 grid right now in this career mode save of ours, that just shows how far off we are at the moment. And we're not getting any quicker as we go on through this first stint. The medium tyres now starting to feel a little bit more second-hand to me as we hit a lot of understeer through that second turn. And Gasly, who hasn't really challenged us so far in this race, is now coming to overtake us. So he's made some good moves on Bottas and Leclerc before, but now he just waltzes past us in a straight line on the left-hand side. We're going to try our best to try and fight him back. We go make a really nice move on the outside there to actually find the room and he gives us the space to work with. Again, we have to do the same thing to him. So far, it's been all respect between myself and Pierre, and the same continues here, but in the end, we just couldn't keep the car ahead of him there, because I got on the curb a bit, and that offset the car on the exit, so we just got a much better acceleration off that right-hander. So he's up into P3 now on the road. We have a little look on the outside as he goes very defensive, but he kind of brake checks us into the next right-hander. Although, to be fair to him, not exactly going to be making a move into the castle section. Very difficult to do, near impossible, really. But as we move through onto the next lap, lap 11, we're met with a very big radio message regarding Gasly.
Some information on Gasly. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
So that is another unfortunate incident for Pierre Gasly. For this is now 3 times in a row now. You know, Spain, he had the tyre issues with his strategy. Monaco, he had that crash in the aftermath, the Bottas crashing out of the Grand Prix. And now here you can see he's going very slow with the mechanical issues. So, you know, he's had this is 3 bad races in a row now, because although he's right now still in P3, he's going to go down the order until that issue is fixed. And generally on the F1 game, it takes a fair few laps for that mechanical issue that can randomly happen to any AI car. It takes a fair few laps for that to get fixed. So here we are then, just walking towards him very easily. DRS open, not really deploying too much ERS because we don't need to, and not in rich mix as well. And we're just up into P3 very, very easily. And actually straight away you can see Bottas is attacking him. You've got the AlphaTauri and Red Bull, both of which have already made their first pit stops in this Grand Prix. They are right on the back of Bottas now, so it's going to be a slam dunk overtake for all 3 of those guys. So it's such a shame for Pierre Gasly. Hopefully his bad luck kind of, you know, goes away really, because I need him to be good. You know, we need him to be scoring points. And, you know, we had think back to the Bahrain Grand Prix, how fantastic that was to have both cars for a brief moment on a podium position, and then in the end of it, we're able to get P2 and P4 respectively. You know, that's a massive points haul compared to just P2 alone. And so it's all out of our hands though. It's all down to just the random number generation of the game. You know, Spain, it was that unfortunate tyre strategy that the engineers gave him. Monaco was just unfortunate, you know, a crash that was out of his control. And then here today, this issue, as I said. So a bit of a shame, quite a shame really. But we move on. We can't really think too much about him now. We have to focus on our own race. We're flying the flag solo now for our own team here at Azerbaijan. Lap 15 we're in for that one and only pit stop onto a set of hard tyres. We went a little bit longer in this race than the default strategy suggested to make sure we can just try and eke out this stint and be on the hard tyres for the least amount of time. It's a good pit stop, 1.9 seconds. Very, very decent pit stop there. And we're going to come out just behind Matsushita, the Renault. We actually were just behind him, actually, before the pit stop phases. He was ahead of Lance Stroll before we overtook him. So we're not actually lost too much time, actually, in any of that fighting with Gasly or, you know, going longer on the medium tyre stint. So that's very good to see, at least. And now on to lap 16 then, 10 laps to go in this thing. Kvyat's in again for a second pit stop then, so a 2-stopper for Kvyat and Ricciardo as well, you know, P11. So very weird strategy there for the Red Bull team. I wonder if Sainz will do that. If they do, I'm going to be face palming, because that will be a Red Bull calamity once again at a race where they could go quite well. But at the moment, it's actually Sergio Perez that leads, Lando Norris in second place, Verstappen in P3, Bottas in P4, but he's yet to pit in this race here. He started on the hard, so he'll be coming in, but the top 3 is 2 AlphaTauris and a McLaren in between. The AlphaTauris flying the Red Bull flag, really upstaging their more senior team. And speaking of them, Carlos Sainz is in P5 on the road chasing after Bottas. He has made his pit stop, so he's going to the end. I also believe Albon has also made his pit stop, so he's actually legit here in P6. He's done a madness from, I think it was P10 on the grid in the Racing Point car to be up there. The Ferraris then are next, Leclerc, Giovinazzi. Those 2 do have to make a pit stop. It's still in this Grand Prix, unlike Albon, so they will be dropping down the order. And potentially also the same thing can be said of Matsushita. He might join his teammate Kvyat for that 2-stop. And at the moment now for me is Ricciardo on that more aggressive 2-stop. He's right behind me within about 1 second or 2 in the next lap, or I would say. And so we're going to be looking in the mirrors, trying to defend as best we can against the Red Bull car, but it may be quite futile. As we're now here, lap 17. We're deploying all the ERS we can, really. But Ricciardo's got the DRS open, and even if it seems like the AlphaTauris are the quicker Red Bull kind of sponsored cars this race weekend, with the DRS, even Ricciardo is able to get me in a straight line. We try and go around the outside there. Actually very surprised at the grip I had around the outside, but in the end it's kind of futile because Ricciardo has the actual overall downforce and grip in the corners, even though obviously, yes, we are gaining time on people. We're gaining pace in this race because of our straight line speed. You know, that Red Bull car is still, you know, able to pull some more time than in, you know, Sector 2, for example, so he's able to walk away from us. So we might be, well, now settling down this Grand Prix as it stands in P11. Of course, we'll gain at least 2 or 3 free positions from the 2 Ferraris and Bottas pitting, so that should put us into the top 10 and get us some decent points. Maybe not as big as we got at Monaco and Spain, but some still decent ones, I would say, after qualifying down in P14. And so now as we look on a lap or two later into this Grand Prix, the race leader and Sergio Perez, no, he's got an issue. His engine is going up in smokes, and the race leader, the man who's dominated this entire race, is going to be out. The AlphaTauri smoking away, and Perez has to pull up alongside turn 2, and so that man, Lando Norris, takes the lead. The full course safety car has been called out, I believe, and so Verstappen from P3, now P2 on the road, he comes in for an extra pit stop that he wasn't planning on making, but he's coming in under the safety car for a free pit stop. Sainz continues on, Albon continues on. Let's see if Kvyat does as well. No, he does not. Kvyat comes in, and then obviously the Ferrari guys are able to come in, and so one of them will get a free pit stop. I think Giovinazzi, Leclerc has already made his pit stop, as well as Valtteri Bottas, and we are now catapulted up into P7 of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. P6 it will be, remember though, on the road, because we're going to overtake Perez as well. But this man leads the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Lando Norris. Second place now is Carlos Sainz. Third is Albon. Mega job for him. Verstappen now is down to P4, but he's on fresh medium tyres now. So AlphaTauri have taken a gamble there. You know, Verstappen recovered really well to P3 anyway from that grid penalty he had to P11. But they've taken a gamble for fresh tyres on the restart, because it's basically going to be a sprint race now with only 5 laps to go in this race then once the safety car comes in. After Verstappen is Ricciardo, then myself, Kvyat, Bottas, then you've got the other Racing Point car, I believe Lance Stroll, and then behind him is going to be Lewis Hamilton, I think that is. Yeah, we haven't seen too much of him in this Grand Prix, but he finds himself ahead of the 2 Ferraris there, who are sandwiching a Renault, I think that is of Mashasita. So Leclerc ahead of Mashasita, and then Giovinazzi. So the 2 Ferraris, I think, are just outside the points-paying position, so that's going to be massively painful for them. But it's a massive, massive opportunity for Lando Norris compared to his teammate, especially here is Esteban Ocon, way down the order, down like P12 or 13 there, whilst his teammate leads the Azerbaijan Grand Prix now, but all thanks to a very unfortunate engine failure for the AlphaTauri man. Sergio Perez leading the entire race, pretty much every lap I think he led from start to finish here. On lap 22 now though, he is out, and it's time for the restart of this safety car. So we've got a 4-lap sprint race pretty much now, so it's anyone's game potentially for the win, maybe for the podium, for us maybe as well, because on this restart we have a very good chance to dive bomb Ricciardo if we kind of time this exit correctly, and we do that to the T as we go across the white line there to start the lap, and we're able to go down the inside. Double lockup though, and we don't want to hit Verstappen and go too wide. We've somehow slowed down the car, but the brakes are so cold on the restart there that we're locking up all over the shop, but we have made the move on Ricciardo. We're up into P5. Meanwhile, up the road, Verstappen looks to overtake Albon with ease, I think that is. Yes, he is. He's already passed him on lap 24 as we're locking up still all over the shop. The brakes are still an issue, and Ricciardo might fancy a move. We've got yellow flags behind. There's a big gap on the minimap there, and Lewis Hamilton is out of another Grand Prix this season. He's had, what's that now, 4 or 5 DNFs so far. He's only finished 1 or 2 races so far in this entire thing. Quite incredible how much bad luck he is having as an AI driver, but he's out this Grand Prix, and there must have been some sort of massive kerfuffle because there's a massive gap on the minimap now, and oh, we have George Russell, who's been disqualified, and now 3 drivers, 4 drivers, Nick de Vries disqualified, Magnussen disqualified. We've had 5 DSQs in this race. 5 people have been disqualified, and ow! This is why! Oh my word, they've absolutely destroyed Pierre Gasly there. Oh my god, my poor teammate. Gasly's been held up in a bit of a train there. Ocon's been in the tangles, in the war. Hamilton, it looks like Hamilton crashed with one of the Racing Point cars, and Gasly has to do a 3-point turn. But the reason why there are 5 people disqualified is because there's 5 people just ignoring yellow flags and pile driving my teammate into turn 2, along with Ocon as well, and one of the Ferrari cars of Giovinazzi, I think that was the championship leader going to this one, remember. So Wow, what drama have we had today? We've had a safety car, the race leader who's dominating this entire race out the GP. We've had Ferrari with the engine investigation, and now we've had 5 people disqualified. It's all kicked off, and there's still more action to come because we're on the second last lap of the Grand Prix, and we're only just ahead of Kvyat and Ricciardo, who are fighting so hard with each other. Kvyat's actually got the jump on the Red Bull car. Fair play to him. So Kvyat may now be the one that's attacking us onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. Speaking of attacking, whilst we were watching that battle with Kvyat and Ricciardo on that same lap actually up the road, this is a replay, is Verstappen overtaking Carlos Sainz up into P2. So Verstappen is back to where he was effectively before he made that extra free pit stop under the safety car. But now he's got fresher tyres to go chasing after Lando Norris. But he's only got 1.5 laps to do it. So can he do anything? If he did it, if he managed it, that would be some kind of comeback from P11 on the grid to P1 in this race. But before we get to that, let's watch on to our POVs. We defend Kvyat very harshly into the left-hander. He's had DRS, of course, but we've done a good enough job to maintain track position, and to the point where Ricciardo now has gone back around the outside of him there. Those two having a ding-dong battle. Ricciardo's got the jump back on Kvyat. We move back to this fight for P1, and look how close Max Verstappen is. He's well within 1 second. He's within half a second, I would say, to Lando Norris. So will this be the fairy tale comeback drive for Verstappen, and will he do justice by his teammate by getting AlphaTauri the win, or will it be Lando Norris's first ever F1 victory? It will be. Lando Norris wins his first ever F1 race in our F1 career mode universe of ours here, and for us, we come across the line for a very, very tasty P5 there, once again making the most of the situation. 3 races in a row. Very, very nice, maximising points today, especially in the face of adversity with Gasly having major issues once again.
A beautiful performance from McLaren today. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Taking care of the car was absolutely vital today. It's been obvious all weekend that the pace was there, but look at the attrition rate we've had. They would have been very concerned about any minor anomaly towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So there you have it. It took a long while in this career mode save of ours, but Lando Norris is finally an F1 race winner. Of course, his teammate Esteban Ocon, he got 2 wins last season in the McLaren, got one race win at the very start of this season. It's been a long while. I've been kind of anticipating when Lando Norris's AI would get one first victory in this save of ours, and so there we go. He's finally a race winner in this career mode universe that we're creating with my team on F1 2020. But what a mental race that was. 5 disqualifications. Lewis Hamilton out of another Grand Prix. I think that means he's literally finished 1 race, I think, this season. I can't quite remember how many races we've actually... I think we've had 5 races, I think, and he's only finished 1, and he's had 4 DNFs. The man can't get any more bad luck, really, and neither can our teammate, Gasly. 3 races now in a row, Spain, Monaco, and here. It's all out of his hands. Really unfortunate, and it means that he's way down in P13 compared to us in a decent P6 in the championship. So I'm adamant, if he didn't have such bad luck, he would definitely be at least around where Danica Kvyat or Verstappen currently sit in the championship there. But meanwhile, at the very top then, Giovinazzi still leads the way from Leclerc, but Lando Norris now is not too far behind, in 6 points off Giovinazzi. And of course now, with this new Ferrari performance that we have, Lando Norris, I think he's in the driving seat to take the lead of the championship in the next race or 2. And if Red Bull want to, actually stop tripping over themselves and not being embarrassed by their junior team, Ricciardo and Sainz are both there for the take. They could also make a championship fight charge, and to be fair, also the AlphaTauri guys, if they keep on showing that kind of pace today, at every single race where there's a kind of, straight line speed advantage to be had, they could get in the mix, also Renault, Racing Point. I mean, the entire top 10 today was so up and down. It was insane to see that this episode. So yeah, mental stuff. But what a race overall, and what episode overall, with starting off with the Ferrari stuff, but then mid-race, safety car, race leader out the Grand Prix, right at the death of the race, 5-lap sprint race at the end, for Hamilton DNF, and then 5 disqualifications. Madness. Simply a madness. If you guys did enjoy that one, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you aren't around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.